played 6 games there. They finished at 2-4 in Tucson, and they actually played the number 1 team, I believe, in Division II softball right now. They lost to them. I believe that was St. Mary's University out of Texas. They lost that 4-1, but they did win 2 out of the 6 games, and these are just, these games aren't going to have any real meaning for their conference. Obviously, this is just kind of warm-up stuff, but then they're back in another tournament this weekend in Las Vegas, the 6th annual Desert Stinger. Gunther's heading to Las Vegas soon, aren't you?
It's not for sure. Maybe. I'm hoping so.
When do you plan to? Maybe you could catch some softball there.
Yeah, maybe catch some softball at the end of the month, I think is when it might be.
They might be back. I'm sure they're back by then, yeah. But they will be in Las Vegas this next weekend. That's pretty fun. They've got a bunch of games scheduled. It looks like 6 games again. And then they've got the Northwest Cup in Clackamas. A couple games there. And then they finally return home. They don't play for a week there in February. But then they return home February 6th and 7th. They play 2 doubleheaders against Northwest Nazarene University. Their first home games. And they're going to be home every weekend after that. Actually, they got 3 more series coming up, and then they'll be back on the road, and then they'll come back later in the season. But not a ton of home games for them. So 2-4 for that team. They were the GNAC champions last season and made it to the West Regional Tournament for Division II last season. So they had a great year last year. Baseball, it's been a different story for them. They started the season 1-7, and they lost their first 6 games. They only just won their very first game of the season on the 7th. I believe that was Saturday. They won that 17-0 though, so they were angry, to say the least. And so they are 1-7. They lost to University of California, San Diego 4 straight games, and then Point Loma Nazarene University twice before they beat them the 3rd game, and then they lost the 4th game. And those were in La Jolla, California, and San Diego, and then they'll be in Seaside, California this weekend, and then Lewiston, Idaho, and then they'll finally start GNAC play at the end of February. They return home also the 7th of March. So we're going to have tons of stuff going on those 2 weekends with softball and baseball just all weekend. Doubleheaders on both sides. So it'll be very busy. And the 7th is actually also the date of our dance, the KU dance that has just been scheduled. So that is going to be a really busy weekend. I'll probably be asked to do some stuff with the games, but luckily, they're earlier in the day. First one starts at 12 p.m., so I have plenty of time to get back to catch the dance. But, that's what's going on with baseball and softball. Long seasons ahead for those 2 teams. Baseball lost last season in the GNAC playoffs in the championship round, and softball won the GNAC playoffs. So see how they rebound after their 2 seasons last year. Let's move on now to some professional sports. Kellen, want to take it away with the NBA? I know there's some stuff going on with Damian Lillard. Might have just got a nice little award, or not really an award, but yeah.
Well, yeah, Damian Lillard, who was first left off the All-Star roster, which, too much of Portland's disagreement was happened, and then was not selected as a injury replacement for Kobe Bryant. They chose Boogie Cousins over that, but since Blake Griffin is injured, he was chosen to be his replacement.
Nice. So the Blazers, is that their only All-Star then?
Oh, no. LaMarcus
LaMarcus made it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Other than that, NBA's interesting as always. I mean, we got injuries pretty much populating every roster. Portland is got Robin Lopez back, and after seeing them play with Robin Lopez, they look better, a lot better. They were kind of in free fall because, I mean, it's just valuable to have that center who does everything, and you're seeing it now, which is good to see.
Right now, any team standing out to you since last we've been on? That was 2 weeks ago.
It would probably be Atlanta.
Atlanta, yeah, definitely. 43-10 on the year. They're just 7.5 games above the second place team, which is Toronto in the East. They're just running away with the Eastern Conference right now. Cleveland is still down there at number 5. A little surprising, but they're 9-1 in their last 10 games. So they only just lost one recently to kill a large streak of wins that they had. So they're kind of coming up and playing together well suddenly. Definitely careful of them. Golden State is 41-9 in the West, number 1 there. Blazers have dropped just below Houston to number 4. They've kind of hit a rough patch where they're 4-6 in their last 10 games. Any big storylines going on right now, Kellen?
Probably be the one up in Portland is probably how they recover from their latest kind of fall. I mean, they were in free fall for a second there, so that's a storyline. Probably as trade season comes on, all the new trades like the Charlotte Hornets just got Mo Williams. You remember him? He was in Portland a year ago.
Yeah.
But probably look for more trades as kind of has been an eventful trade season.
Yeah, and when is the trade deadline for the NBA?
I believe it's coming up in like a week.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah, because NHL's is just at the beginning of March, so they've got about 3 weeks, give or take a few days there, until that trade deadline. But yeah, it looks like the NBA, they've played about 50. They're about the same. Actually, the NBA has caught up now because they always start a month later. Looks like number of games they've kind of caught up now to the NHL, but they haven't had their All-Star break.
Yeah,
and the NHL did
this weekend.
Yeah, okay. So the NHL will kind of pass them up a little bit there again on games played. NHL, most teams are playing about 53 to 55 games now. I'd say actually 52 to 55. But to me, honestly, like, this is going to be unbiased, but right now the big storyline of a team in the NHL coming up is the Flames, because nobody expected them to last this long. Like, they had a really good start, and they hit the losing streak of 7 games, I want to say, and it was looking bad because they were up there in the standings, and then suddenly they dropped. They're starting to win again. They're 7-3 in their last 10 games. They're playing a lot more consistent. Number 2 in the Pacific Division right now. They're tied with San Jose in points, but have played 1 less game. Vancouver is right behind them. They're 2 points back of both San Jose and Calgary, but they've played a few less games than both teams. And then there's LA, the reigning Stanley Cup champions, right behind them. And then after that, the division is pretty bad. Anaheim, of course, is the number 1 team in that division. They're well ahead, so I would imagine they're going to stay. But Calgary, San Jose, Vancouver, and even LA are all going to battle it out for those 2 spots, the 2 and 3 seeds of the division. And then the other 2 teams will try and get into the wild card. But the wild card is going to be tough because in the Central Division, which is also in the Western Conference, Winnipeg is playing really well. They own a wild card spot right now and actually have more points than both Calgary and San Jose. And then Minnesota and Dallas and Colorado are all right behind them there. Minnesota has 58 points, Dallas 56, and Colorado 55. And they're not out of it. They've actually kind of dragged themselves out of last place, even though they're still in last in the division. They've kind of dragged themselves back into the race. The only teams that are really out are Arizona and Edmonton in that Western Conference. So it's going to be a fantastic finish to the end. But I'm really proud of the Flames team. They're so young, but the veteran players are playing really well, and picking up Jonas Hiller in free agency has been huge benefit, having solid goaltending. And this team is believing in themselves right now. 54 games into the year, and they're in second place in the division. You got to believe in yourself at this point. 28 games left to go. So that's really exciting for this team. Game that I'm looking forward to tonight, we've got a huge list of games, but the big one that I'm looking at is Tampa Bay at Nashville. And although they're in separate conferences, I think this is just a good kind of marker game for both teams. They are each number one in their respective conferences. So this would be like, taking last year, say the Patriots and the Seahawks have played in the regular season. That's kind of what this is right now. Tampa Bay was 73 points. Nashville was 76. And they're both, playing really well. And it's just going to be an exciting contest of teams with really outstanding defense that are also scoring at a really high number. But I would say mostly it's Tampa Bay's offense versus Nashville's defense that I want to look at as the big key, specifically against their goalie Pekka Rinne. And then, Nashville's defense, we know how good they are with Shea Weber back there, Seth Jones, the former Portland Winterhawk, Roman Josi. So that's going to be an exciting game. That starts at 5 p.m., so actually just 5 minutes. Probably won't start until 5:05, but getting ready for the puck drop there in Nashville, and that's a potential Stanley Cup Finals preview. Although there are a lot of good teams, and I don't think you can say any teams have the favorite right now, but they are the number one teams in their respective conferences. Anaheim's right behind Nashville. Tampa Bay's got a few teams sniffing behind them. There have been a lot of injuries lately, so Steve Mason of the Philadelphia Flyers, who are trying to battle in that playoff spot, he's going to miss 2-3 weeks, the goaltender there. Taylor Hall of the Oilers is now placed on IR, even though the Oilers are horrible still. But that's just going to hurt them because he's really one of their only actually good players. The Ducks lost their goalie, Anderson. He was placed on IR, so John Gibson, the rookie, got called up to replace him. So that'll be interesting to see how the Ducks respond to that. They've played well with pretty much any goalie, though. So who would you guys say, if I were to ask you, who would be the worst team in the NHL right now, points-wise? Because we're looking at the Connor McDavid sweepstakes right now, who's most likely going to be the number one draft pick and is pretty unreal. Could be, a superstar type player. Who would you guys say would be at the top there of that list?
Are you having this guess?
Yeah.
Because I literally just looked.
You just looked.
It's a Metropolitan team. Is it last? It's right below. Is it right below Ottawa? Is it Ottawa?
It's not Ottawa, okay, but it's right below Ottawa, yeah.
Hashtag Edmonton.
That's always a good guess, but it's not Edmonton. Edmonton's actually second to last in the entire NHL. It's Buffalo. Buffalo Sabres in the Atlantic Division, but the Eastern Conference. Guess. Yeah, Buffalo and Edmonton are right now by far the worst two teams. Buffalo has 35 points. Edmonton has 39. Next worst is Carolina with 45. And then 49 for Columbus and Ottawa. Arizona has 47. But those two are just obviously the worst two. So one of them is pretty much getting Connor McDavid, and the other one's getting Jack Eichel, who is from the U.S. He's a college. He's in playing college hockey. I feel like he's got to be at somewhere like Boston or somewhere like that. He might even be at Yale.
Yale would be a good...
Yeah. He's on the East Coast, definitely somewhere in there. But Connor McDavid is he's in the CHL, Canadian Hockey League, one of those leagues in there. Yeah, but right now, the NHL is every night there's important games now with, less than 30 games left. I keeping my eye on the games with San Jose and Vancouver because I really want them to lose so the Flames can keep gaining on them. That's who they're really battling with, but I'm also watching LA, and you got to watch Winnipeg and then all the teams in the Central Division, Minnesota, Dallas, Colorado. It's really tough, and it's a great time of year for the NHL, and it's always exciting because there's at least 3-4 teams that are always involved at the very end for the last spot, and usually there's only a couple teams that are completely out of it by the last couple weeks. So I expect Colorado and Dallas and Minnesota all to stay in it close to the end, and I'm hoping Calgary can keep it up. But Calgary has the best score differential of any of the teams in the Pacific, which is really surprising considering Anaheim has like 12 more total points than them. But Flames are plus 19, the Ducks are plus 14, San Jose's plus 1, and Vancouver's plus 7. So that's really interesting stat. If you look at the Central, the top 3 teams there are like way above that, though. They're all in the plus 30s, which is crazy numbers there for goal differential. All right, so we've hit the 5 o'clock mark halfway through our show, and we can usually devote a full second half to football. You guys want to jump into the Super Bowl?
Sure.
So any initial thoughts after the Super Bowl? I mean, what do you remember the most from it? Obviously, unless you were living in a box for the last couple weeks, you know that the Patriots won by 28-24, I believe, over the Seattle Seahawks, and it was a climactic end to the game for sure. I mean, I would even say I wasn't really invested in either team, but it was one of the better Super Bowls of all time. Definitely, especially with it coming down to a last play like that. Kellen, as a Seahawks fan, what was your reaction to that final play?
I mean, again, I'm going to preface it with the notion I'm a Seahawks fan, but they're not my first team.
Blazers, obviously, right?
No, I meant like in football.
Oh, okay.
My first team is the Lions.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know it was the Lions.
But being that's just a horrible way to lose, let's be honest.
I didn't know your favorite team was the Lions. I always thought it was the Seahawks. I don't know if you
like root for them.
No, I've noticed that, but I always thought it was the Seahawks. Did you think the same thing, Gunther? I mean, what was his favorite team?
I was just under the assumption it was Seattle, but
yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. This is what you want to see in the Super Bowl. When it comes down to like a last drive, last play, and I didn't catch most of it, but I caught the most significant part at the end, and it was crazy the way it ended. And I'm just glad they didn't repeat.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you, Gunther. I didn't want to see a repeat, especially after the way the Packers-Seahawks game ended. I really just... that at least was a little better. Maybe, the Packers weren't going to beat the Patriots anyways. But looking at just, from a game standpoint, it was, like you said, exactly how you want a game to go for the Super Bowl, the best game of the year, the biggest game of the year, to be tied at halftime, to be all these crazy plays. I mean, the Jermaine Kearse catch was... if the Seahawks win that goes down as one of the greatest catches of all time, maybe the greatest in that moment.
I was just about to say after that catch, I was like, wow, this is the Patriots. They had 2 plays like this, and I mean, they have they just keep suffering plays like this. I mean, when that play went down, I was like, okay, that was an incomplete pass. And then, wait, what?
Yeah. It was interesting, yeah, because I totally like saw it, and it looked like it hit the ground just from the angle, because it like bounced up, and then it looked like it must have hit the ground somewhere, and then suddenly he had it and he got up. But then you watch the actual angle from like the ground standpoint level, and you could totally tell. I mean, it never touched the ground at all. That play, I was like, oh, it's over. I mean, they're gonna run it with Marshawn Lynch. He's going to score in a couple plays. There's going to be no time for the Patriots, and that's going to be the game. So let's get to that call, the big call that everyone's talking about, the call made by Pete Carroll to, I mean, maybe not necessarily made by Pete Carroll, but Darrell Bevell as well, the offensive coordinator for the Seahawks. It was made by the Seahawks. Just say that. They decided to pass the ball on second down from the 1 yard line to, with the clock was ticking down, 25 seconds or so, and they're down by 4. They have one timeout left, and they throw it. It's intercepted by Jonas Gray.
That's the running back.
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't it
Yeah, Jonas Gray's the running back.
Wasn't it the, walk-on or someone like that?
Yeah. Isn't his last name Gray, though?
I don't think so.
Man, we gotta get our facts straight here. I just saw something about him. I swear I thought it was... Yeah, but you're right. Jonas Gray is the running back.
Maybe it is Gray. I don't know.
But anyways, he intercepts it, runs it out to the 2 yard line, and it goes down as one of the greatest
By offering the
endings to a Super Bowl, because they're at the 1 yard line with a chance to win it.
Some penguins, however, are a little smarter than others.
I apologize if you're listening to the
Everyone loves
podcast.
a
You
gift
probably
from
need
K
some
Jewelers.
stupid
Save up to 30%
ad
on select
because I'm
diamonds and
looking at it, and so
continuous
that will be
motion catches
recorded
light
on the
from every
podcast.
angle.
So my
K, the
apologies
number
for
one
that.
jewelry store in
It
America.
would be an awkward
Antarctica.
penguin ad for K Jewelers right now. Of course, that has to come up, but we're trying. Oh no, yeah, Malcolm Butler. That's the name. Yeah, I just could not remember his name. I mean, it's not really, but yeah, at least it was the same team. Jonas Gray was the running back that didn't play. Malcolm Butler, he was a walk-on, undrafted, I believe, for the Patriots, and made the huge play with 20 seconds left. And then afterwards, the giant brawl that ended up happening not necessarily after the game, the game was still going, but the Seahawks defense got in a brawl with really the Patriots offensive line and Rob Gronkowski, and that was great to see the everything going on there. I gotta say, it was one of the most exciting games. So, I want to go back to that call. Do you guys think it was a bad call? I mean, obviously in hindsight,
Hindsight's 2020.
hindsight is always 2020. It was a bad call in hindsight. But if you look at it from their perspective, do you think it was necessarily as bad as people are saying? Like, people who say it was the worst call ever in NFL history.
No.
Yeah.
Although you would expect a run that close to the end zone with a great running back,
Yeah.
it was still a good pick play. I mean, he just made an outstanding play on defense at the right time, at the right place, and it just ended the other way. I mean, turned it over, and it's not what you expect as a pass play, though.
I completely. Well, I mean, I would prefer they would have ran it, but I mean, hindsight's 2020. I mean, I would have preferred they passed it more in the game, which is kind of like you're playing with, like, I want you to do this, but I don't want you to do this.
Yeah, Pete Carroll's explanation wasn't actually that bad either on why he decided to do that. So the Patriots have I believe 2 timeouts. The Seahawks have 1 timeout at this moment. The Patriots decided to let the clock run down. They could have called a timeout right after Marshawn Lynch run on first down, called a timeout. There would have been about 50 seconds left. They'd have 1 timeout left. Second down, then the Seahawks would have a lot of control, and they could pretty much just run it and take the clock down as far close to 1 as they wanted. Probably run one last play if they didn't score and put it on that one last play, which also would have been a fantastic end, 1 play left to win it. But, this is what the Seahawks were thinking is, the Patriots didn't call the timeout, so they can run the clock down, and they've kind of got themselves a free play here where they don't necessarily have to keep running the clock because it's already going down to 25 seconds or so. So their thinking is you throw it on first down, worst case scenario, it's an incomplete pass. That's what they're thinking. There's no way you're going to throw an interception at this moment. You keep it as far away from the defender as you can. So second down, you throw it. Then you got 20 to 25 seconds left. You've got 1 timeout left. You can run a play, run the clock down, call your timeout, and run 1 more play, assuming you don't score on any of the previous 2 plays. That's their thinking. The bad side for them is that, you don't expect a guy like Malcolm Butler to make that great of a play. And honestly, Russell Wilson needs to make a better throw that does not give the defender any chance to even to intercept that. The receiver, that was Lockett, I believe. He got blamed for not really pushing hard enough, but I feel like the throw was too far leading him on the play, and you've got to, if it's not there, you just got to throw it at the guy's feet. And he put it, it was high, like not high above them, but it was, chest to head, neck area height, and he gave the defender, Malcolm Butler, enough chance. But you definitely have to give credit to Butler. He just read that play. He knew it was coming. He saw the pick and just bolted for the spot and beat Lockett to it. And so definitely credit to him. But I don't necessarily blame the call. It was not a good throw. Hindsight, it wasn't a good call, but it made sense because if you run it there, then, and you don't make it, then you've got to think about calling your timeout, and then you're stuck with no timeouts. And so then what do? You're going to have to pass it twice, or you're going to have to run it once and try and get to the line as fast as possible to get off a last-ditch play. But you at least probably end up throwing it once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I was watching it, because I watched maybe like the last 2.5 drives, and when it got down to the point where you thought Belichick was going to call a timeout, and he didn't, I think that kind of put some nerves on him, like, he's not going to do this. So I feel like they kind of were rushed. Mm-hmm. They didn't quite know what to do.
Yeah.
It's not like the defense knew, like, okay, well, we know what we're doing, but I just feel like they had to rush things. It looked like they didn't quite have the plan. Like 20 seconds was ticking down. It was like 30, and they got to 20, and they kind of just went with it. It was a kind of a bad pass as well.
Yeah, I agree. 2 things I want to talk about from what you said. So first, it kind of reminds me of what coaches do to ice the kicker. Yeah. They call a timeout right before the kicker kicks. But in this case, and sometimes it works with kickers now, is a lot of kickers have gotten used to that happening. And so coaches don't end up calling the timeout because it's kind of a reverse psychology. Like, they're expecting the icing, so they're not even like fully focused into it. And then suddenly no timeout gets called, and you've actually, this is actually the real kick. You never hear the whistle. A lot of times they do it right before. So they're like almost expecting that whistle. And so in this case, maybe the Seahawks were like, what?
Off guard,
we're totally expecting the timeout right now, and then suddenly it's not. It's like, well, we got to do this play, and then you just weren't totally prepared.
Right. Maybe you didn't have like an exact play picked out, and then you see it running down.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's get up there and get a play going.
Yeah. And that might not necessarily have affected Russell Wilson, who's a quarterback, and
Right.
quarterbacks aren't necessarily affected by that, but it could have affected the receiver, Lockett, who just got beat. Mm-hmm. I mean, he got bumped off the ball. Maybe he just didn't put his full, he wasn't able to get his full momentum off the snap, and that's why he got, beat to the spot there.
Right.
That could have happened to him because he was expecting a timeout, and then suddenly it's like, oh wow, we're actually doing this. The other point that you kind of started bringing up was the Patriots, who they had on the field, and so the Patriots actually almost played this perfectly. Now that, and of course it's hindsight, it would have looked bad if if it had worked out for the Seahawks. But the Seahawks brought out their receiving package, and the Patriots brought out their run-stopping package on defense. Yeah. So, I mean, the Patriots brought out the opposite of what you would think. But what they were doing there is they did not want the Seahawks to beat them on the ground. So they brought in their big run stoppers.
Yeah.
Even when the Seahawks had their 4 receivers set out and were going to be in shotgun. So they brought all those guys out, and that almost forced the Seahawks in that moment. There's no way they could audible to a run because they're going to get stuffed probably with, I think they had 8 men in the box or something versus, the 5 blockers for the Seahawks. So they had to get off a quick pass. And that almost forced their hand.
That's where you would want a throw, too, because there's no room to work with that close.
Yeah, running the ball, I mean, Lynch really could have been stopped with 8 men in the box versus 5 blockers.
Right, and then you waste your time out, like you said, and it gets worse.
So they made the right call against that defense, but it almost played in the hands of the Patriots because they were like, we just don't want to get beat on the ground. If you throw a touchdown pass right now from the one, like, tip your cap to them.
The mastermind.
Yeah, but maybe, Butler knew that, and he knew they'd have to throw something short, and just... that was honestly the only hope for the Patriots right there. So you force them to pass, and your guy just makes a play, and that's what happened. And it was a great play. Tom Brady was the MVP. He was 37 of 50 for 328 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions thrown, but he gave his car that he won to Malcolm Butler.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a sexy car.
Definitely. And well, thing is, Tom Brady has a lot of money. Like, he doesn't need that. He doesn't. No, he doesn't need the car. Definitely not. And so Malcolm Butler, a guy who undrafted, he probably doesn't have a very high contract. Give it to him. And, he won the game at the end pretty much. So I think that was a nice gesture by Tom Brady, definitely. And he has now won 4 Super Bowls. So we get into the question, is he the greatest of all time? He's one of 3 quarterbacks now to have won 4 Super Bowls.
1 of 3?
1 of 3. Montana.
And then who's the other?
This guy doesn't
Bradshaw?
belong. Yeah, Terry Bradshaw.
Kick him out.
He's out. Now it's Montana or Brady. And I mean, I feel like there's some other quarterbacks you can throw into the conversation, even though they didn't win enough Super Bowls. I mean, Manning has all the records now, and he's just such a great, statistically, he's an amazing quarterback, the best ever.
Well, didn't Favre only win 1?
Yeah, Favre only won 1. He had all the records before Manning, and Manning's starting to break most of them. He's broken touchdowns. I don't know if he has yards yet. He might.
I don't think so. Last time I looked, I thought he had a ways.
Yeah. Favre will always have interceptions, though. That's for sure.
He was just slinging.
Yeah, he was a slinger. Then, I mean, Marino won't get into the conversation because he didn't win any Super Bowls, but he was a great quarterback for sure.
Elway.
I mean, Aikman could have been there if he hadn't had concussion injuries. Young, how many Super Bowls did he win? I think he won 1 or 2.
At least 1, yeah.
So
it's going to come down. If you're talking Super Bowls, it's going to be Tom Brady or Joe Montana.
Yeah. And I think, honestly, that is what the conversation is left to. Because they both have 4 Super Bowl rings, but they also were very good quarterbacks just besides that. So They both won MVPs. I don't know how many Montana won, but Brady's won at least 2 now, I think. I want to say. So, yeah, it's a tough conversation. They played in different times, though. I mean, Montana wasn't that long ago, but still, like, big-time offenses were just starting to come out a little bit. And Brady plays in definitely the offensive era.
And Montana had the greatest receiver of all time.
Yeah, you can't forget about that. So, but Brady's played with some good receivers, so you can't overlook that either.
He makes a lot of people good too.
But he does.
Montana probably did the same thing.
Yeah,
I didn't get to watch much of him, but
yeah.
I'm pretty sure it works out the same way both.
It always does. You can't have one without the other, in my opinion. I mean, Jerry played with Montana and then Young. I mean, that's pretty nice quarterbacks to play with. But he definitely had to have the ability as well. It's tough to say. I don't know if you'd ever come out with a definitive answer, but Brady getting a 4th Super Bowl ring definitely helps his case. And I would say if he got a 5th,
if someone got 5th, would that be the best then? I mean,
I feel like it would.
Personal opinion,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. And people are always going to have differing opinions, for sure. Kellen, do you have anything? You don't have to. All right, so now that everything's settled, Super Bowl's over, we have a chance to look ahead to next year. And the top teams coming into 2015-16 season. And the odds came out like right after the Super Bowl for the odds for the teams to win the Super Bowl next year. And actually the Seahawks had the number 1 odds to win the Super Bowl next season, even ahead of the Patriots. I think it was Seahawks, Patriots, Packers, Broncos were the top 4.
Yeah, that sounds
sounds about right. I think the Colts were 5, and then it was like the Cowboys, I think, or something like that. So, what do you guys think? I mean, we might have predictions at a later date, but if you were to pick right now, what would be your Super Bowl? I don't know. We're getting into it. What'd you say? Raiders. Oh my.
Jacksonville.
right now.
Yeah.
Seahawks, Patriots.
Again.
Yep.
Fair enough.
I'm gonna have to go Lions.
All right.
And then yes, Lions and Patriots.
Lions and Patriots. This is a tough one. It's Super Bowl 50. It's a big year. I'm really excited, looking forward to what they do for Super Bowl 50. I mean,
Why not the first team to win it?
That's right. Why not number 1? Packers win number 1, number 50. That'd be pretty cool. I mean, I would take the Packers, definitely. I think they're good enough to do it. They were freaking play away from making the Super Bowl this year, pretty much. And so, an onside kick away from it. I think they definitely can make it, so I would pick them, but I think there's other teams that can. AFC, I mean, yeah, it's hard to pick against the Patriots right now, but we're a long ways away from
Every
being
year
seen.
is.
Yeah.
Because no one in that division can compete with them.
Yeah.
They're going to get into the playoffs every year.
And they have the experience, definitely.
Yeah.
They've 4-time Super Bowl winning quarterback now.
But do you trust the Patriots to handle that Super Bowl hangover?
Yeah. I believe if any team can, they can. They're the last team to repeat.
Right. Yeah. The Patriots, I would feel most confident with no matter what.
Yeah. It's tough, and the Seahawks did a good job, honestly, with the Super Bowl hangover. They had a slump there, but they did have a lot of injuries during that time, but they got it together at the end for sure. They came together. So, I mean, I would say they definitely could be back in it. Broncos, we'll see. A lot is going to depend on some going on with the Broncos. Peyton, of course, and some of the free agents. Yeah. I mean, I think Peyton will be back, but say he retired, then definitely their odds plummet for sure. I mean, there's a big difference between Peyton and Garoppolo. Is that that's
Osweiler.
That's Patriots.
Yeah. I believe he's coming back. And the issue's going to come down to what you do with your free agents and all the new coaches around the league.
Yeah. They're going to have pretty much a whole new coaching staff, aren't they?
Yeah, we are going to have a whole new system you got to learn.
Yeah, so that's not easy. It might work out, but...
Seattle has lost coordinators. It happens so fast.
Yeah.
Anyone has a chance to,
it's true.
To adjust and adapt and grow and progress.
Well, so we mentioned our Super Bowl picks. Who would you guys pick as your breakout team? A team that, say, didn't make the playoffs, or a team that maybe just got into the wild card and is actually going to shoot up even higher to a division winner of the teams from last year?
I just told mine. The Lions.
The Lions. Well, you did. They were a wild card team, and you have them picked for the Super Bowl. This is a tough one. I like the Rams, but it depends what they do at quarterback. They're a team that's been able to compete in their division, which is a very tough division. So I could see them. They were 6-10 last year, but they can get the quarterback position figured out. They've got a great defense. Maybe just get a running game going. That would help their offense a lot. Take some pressure off of their quarterback. They would be one, and I will say for another, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are going to have the number 1 pick in this draft. I think they could actually go from a worst to a potential wild card team. A lot of teams have done that too in recent history. I mean, in the recent years, Texans were the last place team last year. They just jumped up, went 9-7. The Chiefs before that, and they ended up winning or making the playoffs, made that wild card. So I think the Buccaneers could be one.
Yeah, I'm not sure. There's a lot of these teams that you think every year, okay, they'll do something. For example, the Chargers, the Bears, the Cowboys. If I had to pick one, it would probably be the Cardinals.
Cardinals?
Like you said with, I don't remember who, but depending on how Carson Palmer is, I think they'd have a good shot at doing some damage.
Yeah, and they were 11-5, but I think they were 11-5 the year before that even. They didn't make the playoffs that season. Maybe they were 10-6, but they've had 2 really good years in a row, and just kind of the endings didn't go the way that they wanted. But yeah, I think definitely if Palmer hadn't gotten injured, it could have been a totally different story in the NFC completely. That really changed the landscape of it.
Possibly the Vikings with the Adrian Peterson situation.
Depends what happens with him. But yeah, I actually, they were an up-and-coming team last year with all the problems they had. They actually had a very strong end and look a lot better. That defense is pretty tough. I think those Packer-Viking games are going to be really good next season. Along with Lions and Vikings. All right, free agency. We got a few minutes left here. The big free agents on the year. I don't have a full list, but there's a bunch of wide receivers, potentially Demaryius Thomas of the Broncos, Dez Bryant for the Cowboys, Randall Cobb for the Packers. Other free agents, Marshawn Lynch. Where is he going to end up? Is he going to stay with the Seahawks? Is he going to retire? You really don't know what he's going to do. Obviously, the Seahawks are going to re-sign Russell Wilson, but technically he is a free agent coming up. DeMarco Murray, who the Seahawks, the Cowboys might not be able to sign both of them, so he would probably be the one who ends up getting let go over Bryant. I heard Peterson could end up with the Cowboys, though, somehow, if he takes a contract cut because of his issues, to replace Murray. Probably even worse. Yeah, that would be worse than Murray, I think, if Peterson comes back with the same. That would be scary. I definitely don't want to see that, because Murray was bad enough. AP is on another level when he's healthy. Other free agents I can think of. Oh, Ndamukong Suh. I heard he wanted to go to the Seahawks. That's just some articles.
The Raiders.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think he should go to the Raiders. I think he'd be great with the Raiders. Give them that fierceness back a little bit. That's kind of what they're known for. But I mean, do you guys believe he'll be back with the Lions?
As a Lions fan.
Yeah, as a Lions fan.
I think he'll be back. I mean,
okay. He's very good, but I almost feel like he's outstayed his welcome a little bit with all the, the fines and suspension stuff going on with him. Like, really, they don't really have anyone else who's, dirty other than him, but it gives their team kind of a bad name. But maybe they like that on the defense. You like your defense to be nasty.
Right. Yeah, I got a whole list here now.
Oh, okay.
There's a few other. Let's see here. C.J. Spiller.
C.J. Spiller, yeah.
Like I said, no Sean Marino, DeMarco Murray, Frank Gore.
Frank Gore's an interesting one. He could potentially retire.
Yeah, he's up there. He's getting up there. For a running back, they don't usually last as long.
Justin Houston of the Chiefs, but I think he'll get paid. He's only 26.
Des Bryant, Randall Cobb, Michael Crabtree,
Devin McCourty, the Patriots.
That's a steal if he doesn't stay.
Mm-hmm. Greg Hardy for the Panthers. Jason Pierre-Paul. He had that one huge year, and really, honestly, he had 12.5 sacks last year, but he's been rather quiet, I think. Julius Thomas.
Yep, JT.
Jeremy Maclin. Nick Fairley, also of the Lions.
Torrey Smith.
Yeah, I mean, do you think that the Lions could keep both Fairley and Suh? That's a tough.
They are their defense,
Yeah.
pretty much. I mean,
They had a top rank pass.
Yeah, they were. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's hard when you have a lot of the same guys in the same position looking to get paid.
For the Packers, I know they have to deal with Randall Cobb is the big one, but Bulaga, their right tackle, their Julius Peppers, I think might be AJ Hawk, a linebacker. I think he might get let go, former first-round draft pick, but their biggest key is going to be to bring back Cobb. And a lot of people are worrying that they're not going to because of what they've done in the past with other receivers like Greg Jennings and James Jones last season. But I think Cobb is different, one, because of his age. They let both Jones and Jennings go kind of when they've both hit 27, 28. Cobb is 24. He's still really young.
He's in his prime.
He is definitely in his prime, and he's got quite a few more years. He's like right at the beginning of his prime years for a receiver.
With Aaron Rodgers throwing to you.
Exactly. And Aaron Rodgers is going to be in his prime. They definitely want to keep him. I think he's going to want to stay in Green Bay, too, because he will have seen what both Jennings and Jones have done after they've left. I mean, Jennings, as soon as he left, he goes to Minnesota. He's been, almost invisible in Minnesota. I in a way, I mean, yeah, he made a ton of money, but you kind of got to regret that. They haven't been in the playoffs, since he left. They don't win games. He doesn't catch a lot of passes because they haven't had a quarterback. Just totally different than playing with, Aaron Rodgers or when he was playing with Brett Favre. So I think Cobb's got to look at that definitely as a contributor to his choice, and hopefully the Packers would have to lowball him majorly to not get him back, I think. Because I think he's going to want to stay. And the Packers need him because they don't really have another slot receiver to replace him at the moment. Devontae Adams really stepped up last year, but he and Jordy Nelson are both more outside receivers, and Cobb is that slot guy that can really help them. I'm looking at this thing that's got the top 25 NFL free agents and where they'll land. And so it's got Justin Houston, who is a Chiefs player, staying with the Chiefs. Ndamukong Suh staying with the Lions. Dez Bryant staying with the Cowboys. Julius Thomas staying with the Broncos. Devin McCourty staying with the Patriots. Greg Hardy staying with the Panthers. So, yeah, it's not really all that interesting. Jason Pierre-Paul staying with the Giants. DeMarco Murray staying with the Cowboys. I don't know how they're going to afford both, but Julius Thomas staying with the Broncos. Now, here we go. Actually, sorry. I was just looking at their team. Sorry, Jason Pierre-Paul staying with the Raiders. The first ones were all the same, but DeMarco Murray's going to the Titans. Julius Thomas going to the Browns. Randall Cobb going to the Seahawks. That's my take on that. So, yeah, not going to happen. They wouldn't let him go to the Seahawks, of all places. I had Devin McCourty going to the Jaguars. Macklin staying with the Eagles. I'll skip down. Nick Fairley going to the Raiders. And Byron Maxwell of the Seahawks going to the Falcons. So interesting, some moves, but I don't know how the Seahawks would be able to afford Cobb if the Packers couldn't. That would be my question. And the Packers don't like to pay people often, but at 24 years old, I don't see why they wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we've hit about the hour mark here now at 5:34. Thank you all for tuning in here on the Pack on KWOU Radio. And I will have the podcast up, so if you missed that, we'll have that up tonight for all of you. But thank you again for listening. Any last words from either of you guys?
Go Blazers.
There you go. Go Blazers.
Yep, Rip City, go Blazers. And I'm looking forward to the draft.
That's right. Yeah, that comes April.
Yeah, I don't know. They change it every year, so.
I'll say go Flames and go Wolves tomorrow night on Root Sports at 8 p.m. Check that out. They'll be taking on St. Martin's University on the road. So if you have time, 8 p.m. on Root Sports tomorrow night. And again, we are the Pack for Kellen Hughes and Gunther Bird. I'm Ian Dexter signing off. Good night, everybody.
Looking for a better way to get up out of bed instead of getting on the internet and checking a new hit me kid. First shot,